quiet window, Dan, by their standards. Is that all about to change?
Well, what they want in this window is a centre-back who can step right into their starting 11. Of course, Levi Corwell injured essentially for the rest of the season. And Tosin also looked like he picked up a hamstring injury on the weekend as well. We'll see how long he remains out. So Chelsea are actually exploring and remain in talks with Rennes over Jacquet. Now, he's 20 years old. Rennes value him for around £56 million, and I've been speaking about him in the last few months. Someone Manchester United are also monitoring as well. And some of the biggest clubs around Europe are all seeing how he develops in Liga. Now Chelsea, Liam Rosenior knows him, of course, being at Strasbourg, playing against Rennes. Whether he is the right person to come into the team, we will see, because he still feels a little bit raw. Bournemouth's Marcos Senesi could be another option. He's out of contract in the summer. Chelsea also aware of that. But for now, it could look like Jacquet could be their number one target for this window.
Is this a bit of a problem area for Chelsea centre-backs, Jeff? Because they've signed so many, and I guess a lot of Chelsea fans would say the ones we've brought in are only maybe marginally better than what we've had before. They desperately need to find their partnership, don't they? The two that work going forward.
Yeah, it's difficult when, like you said, you've talked about, and they have brought in a good few centre-backs over the last couple of years, and whether it's not worked out or the players haven't been ready, but it seems like they want to find someone who's ready to go now. I think maybe it's a little bit of a punt, getting him. I think he's a 20-year-old. Is he ready to go straight in? Who knows? But I suppose Liam, who's managed in that league, has seen a lot more of him than me. Definitely in any way.
But that's interesting, isn't it, even that conversation? Because as we've been led to believe with Chelsea, it's, as you just mentioned, with bigger clubs, they sign the players, the head coach coaches them, but they would surely be in communication with Liam here, because he was so keen on him at Strasbourg, part of Blue Co, basically Chelsea.
Yeah, so like I said, he'll know all about him. And I'm sure he's saying yes or no if he thinks he can go straight in and improve Chelsea, because him selfishly as a manager, he wants all the best players in to help him do as well as he can this season.
Yeah.
What about just looking at Liam there and wondering what conversation he has had with Raheem Sterling, Dan? Because when he came in, he said it's basically a clean slate for everyone. There's no such thing as bomb squads under Liam Rosenior. He hasn't played for Chelsea since May 2024, was on loan at Arsenal last season. One goal in something like 29 appearances. That was against League One Bolton in the League Cup. What about his future? Could he move on this window? We know he's not going to walk away from a huge contract, is he, at Stamford Bridge?
No, absolutely. And what our colleagues in Sky Italy are reporting is that Napoli, of course led by former Chelsea manager Antonio Conte, are exploring a potential loan option for Sterling in this window. Now, we've also been reporting throughout this window that, from our understanding, Sterling would love to stay in London, and Fulham, for example, would be a club he would be interested in joining. Now, we don't know from the other side whether Fulham would explore that deal, because, as you mentioned, he'll be on quite extensive wages, and how will they negotiate that with Chelsea? As you mentioned, again, we're kind of talking about James Ward-Prowse. It's just incredibly sad for Raheem Sterling that over the last 2 years or so, he's just not played a whole of a lot of football. But you just think for a Premier League team especially, he would be a great signing. I mean, Napoli makes sense because there's so many former Premier League players there. You look at Rasmus Højlund, Kevin De Bruyne is injured at the moment, but Scott McTominay, Billy Gilmore. So it clearly seems a good safe haven for players who need a move.
Chelsea, Dan and Jeff, might argue that, all right, we've given Raheem Sterling opportunities to play football. We let him go on loan to Arsenal. We've offered him other loan deals, and perhaps, as you said, because he wants to stay in London, there are only a few clubs that would entertain that. Does it come down to where his motivation is right now? Because understandably, you're not going to walk away from figures that have been banded around £25 million left on his contract, or a number near that. But he's 31, and it's now down to him to continue as a professional footballer or not, because he could easily just hang up his boots, couldn't he?
Yeah, it's quite ironic. I was around 31 when I finished. So.
Did you have £25 million waiting?
No, I didn't. I wish. But no, I think for him it is, if he still has that hunger to go and play. I know he's saying he wants to stay in London, but there's not that many options for him. What is there? Fulham, West Ham, pretty much who he can go to, and it depends if the clubs want you there or what they'll have to pay.
Can he still offer clubs like Fulham and West Ham something? And I mean, you say West Ham, that's a completely different challenge to Fulham, who are not in that scrap down the bottom.
I wonder whether you can remember at all any feedback that Liam Rosenior ever gave you when he was in charge of you at Hull, and also when you look at your Chelsea time so far, Do you feel that, in a sense, it's been sort of a period of ups and downs? I know you've had some injuries to contend with. Do you feel it's been a bit stop-start? That's 2 questions for me. Thanks.
Yeah, I think obviously I spent a year at Hull with Liam, and you know his patterns and how he wants to play is the same. So it's helpful because I already know how he wants to play, and I think we've had such a short period of time to work on it in training since he's been in, and hopefully he can translate that onto the pitch soon. And second question, of course, it's a difficult start, obviously with injuries and stuff. You just want to get in that rhythm of playing, but hopefully now I'm back fit that I can stay fit.